All right. So we'll call our meeting of the Fairfield Library Board of Trustees to order 7:10 p.m. on Monday, September 9th. First item of business is roll call. Renee present, Aaron Harrigan.
Present.
Stephanie Rosari.
Here.
May there.
Present.
Peter Wilner. Peter is not here. And we do have with us John, but he's not officially a member of the Board of Trustees yet, but will be after Thursday. So with that, we'll go to any public comments. Here's there's none in the room, none in online, and with that, we will now move to the approval of minutes from our July meeting. We did not meet in August. So if everyone can take a few minutes to read through those. Because we reordered the new business, we did the board officers before we did the new board member. Do you need to reorganize that in the minutes? Scott? Point of order.
I think as long as it captured what actually happened at the meeting.
Okay.
Was there a motion to change the agenda?
No. The only thing is we moved into executive session. We didn't move out of executive session.
So technically, there's still an executive session.
No, we did, and then we adjourned.
Okay.
So we came out at 8:49 and adjourned the meeting at 8:49. Just more. It's been a crazy 2 months of executive session.
Tired.
We'll keep that in mind moving forward, is if we do, what time we come out of executive session.
So are you saying that the election of the officer should have been?
It
B,
proceeded,
The other.
it preceded the item C,
Yeah.
it preceded item B in actual, but not in order of the agenda as it was
Oh,
presented. So theoretically, we would have needed to make we would have needed to make a motion to amend the agenda. But as it stands, like, other than Aaron's name and for the conversation, any other changes? Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor? Pass. The July meeting minutes are approved. Now, one thing that is not mentioned on here, but because we are still under approval of minutes, is the minutes from our special meeting with regards to our new member. Hopefully this takes much less time. We did. It does say we did exit executive session. Which point we made motion to recommend John and motion passed. Do they have anything else? We have a quick meeting.
Are you talking about the special meeting?
Yes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
All in favor? Right. We've approved our July meeting minutes as well as our special meeting minutes. With that, we go into the chairman's report. Summer is over. I know there's been a lot that I've heard of the community with regards to the summer reading challenge and got great participation, both near and far. Scott. And I know that, it continues that excitement into the school year for kids. As we get back, I know my kids have talked about being excited to go to the library at school now as well. So that's always a great thing. Obviously, I do want to welcome John. We are looking very much forward to having you as a member of the board. I will actually cede a little bit of time to you to do a quick introduction.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet everybody. I live in Fairfield with my wife. Fairfield for 7 years. Second time around in Fairfield. Grew up in Trumbull. School moved up mid-80s, late 80s. Chicago, Maine, to Dallas, West Hartford, and finally ended up on Fairfield, where we belong. So, 2 kids who have grown up, so they're not living with us now. They're out of state. We enjoy Fairfield very much. I've had previous experience as a board member, library board in Maine. I served 6 years up there, Falmouth Memorial Library, both as the treasurer and the president. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, which is why I saw this opening and applied for it. And when we were there, we actually looked to expand the library. We got the plans to do that. Recession hit, and they ended up doing it a few years later. So really enjoyed interacting with the library. The library in Fairfield is wonderful. Always enjoyed there. Pick up books, sit around, read, and really staff is fantastic. And
Well, thanks, John. We are very excited. There's a lot of things going on, especially around our library. I'm ignoring them. Those are my 2.
Yeah.
3. Just for, no, excited to have you, especially with the involvement with regards to the buildings there. Be a very valuable voice. And or to having as part of our building committee as well. So, welcome, John. And with that, we will move into library updates. So Scott, I'll hand it over to you for the operations report.
So the summer was hectic, not just for summer reading related programming, but with all the traditional and non-traditional library services. A lot of excitement generated about the naming of our new mascot, which will be announced at the Food Truck Festival at 1 p.m. Sunday, 22nd, $5. Unless you're 13 and below or 12. We did another program on the main floor, which was jam-packed, adults during the month of July. Learned how to make bird feeders and embroider, and played Mahjong. Mahjong goes strong through the whole summer. And also learned how to use digital resources, and people gave blood, We did one of our first blood drives. Actually, we're gonna have a blood drive again in October. We were really, they set the bar low. It was with Connecticut, Connecticut Blood. No, it was the other group, Connecticut Blood Center. And they were really impressed and really happy. We're actually planning on doing one here, and they have a blood bus. And we're planning on doing, we're right now in plans to use the blood bus to do one at Fairfield Woods as well. Teens crocheted, made zines, and hung out in the teen room. What we really saw this summer, besides a huge spike in teen program participation, were teens in our teen room here. We saw a spike during the school year, which was really impressive. We thought it would die down, but we continue to kind of be a location for kids to come, even over the summer, when usually there's a little bit of a lull there. Children and families watched films and even escaped from a room at the Woods Branch. Patrons of all ages followed the Yellow Brick Road during the 85th anniversary viewing of The Wizard of Oz, which I wish I was there for. And last but not least, the Summer Reading Challenge was a huge success. Tamara and crew will be here to present at our next board meeting. Usually, for those of you who haven't been there for it, our children's staff comes in and does like a whole breakdown of the program. It's really amazing to me. And that's pretty much it. Building HVAC issues, but nothing out of the ordinary. We are still talking about possibly getting some money to do the patio on the side. And incident reports were relatively low. With teenagers comes incident reports about around teenagers. But the staff did a really good job of handling that. The biggest facilities kind of behavior issues that we had continue to be the parking lot. Parking's maxed out, people are late to programs, staff are late to shifts because of it. This week alone, I think I've chased 3 to 4 people illegally parking in the parking lot out, including staff from one of the local schools. So I now have made warning tickets to put on people's windshields, and I actually, when I come in the morning to do something else in town, I actually do a lap through the parking lot, see if there's any cars parked here at like 6:30 in the morning, so that when I'm done and come back over at 8:30, if they're still, record that they're here, and if they're still here to obey, then they get a warning letter. So I've become the parking authority for the library.
The tow truck shows up the first time, you're really.
I wish we could tow, we can only give them tickets. But that's pretty much where we're at. It was a really great summer that continued to be busy into August, and it's hands down the busiest summer we've seen in a really long time. And then I'll pass it over to Jan, to talk about what we have coming up in the future.
So we're really stepping things up for the fall after like 2 weeks off in August for programming. This month is National Library Card Sign Up Month, so we're doing some fun things for that. One of them you may have seen downstairs, the little papers that we're asking people to fill out. The friends that asked people to do this in February. And it was like so great that we just want to hear more good things about it. So they're asked to say how the library has transformed, and then those will be on display out at the Story Park here and also at Wood. All the adult book clubs are starting back up again in September. We have a new librarian in the adult services department, and she's really jumped into programming. Dr. Schenker, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a scholar from Yale University, and he has for years, he's been giving lectures here on various things. And so before COVID, he would draw like 60, 70 people in this room in the evening. And then after COVID, kind of not so many people were coming. So we started offering it in the daytime, and the room is packed again. So his new series is something a little different on lyrics. So they're doing the lyrics of Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, and Bob Marley, and they're all like booked up. So yeah, it's kind of interesting and exciting. Team Services is very excited to have a full-time librarian now at Branch, which will be wonderful for everyone. Children's is starting up their fall programming again with lots of stuff for everyone as usual, and their outreach to child care facilities as well. And down all the things, many things my friends are doing this month as well. Hope to see you at the event.
You just want me to jump into the special report?
Yeah.
So at the June board meeting, we were very busy, so we kind of skipped over this. We look at how FPL was performing in terms of the metrics outlined in the best practices for Connecticut libraries done by the Division of Library Development. The library reached enhanced and exemplary in several of the metrics. However, below are the areas the library administration has identified for the organization, both library and focus on the next 12 months. Just quick highlights, the library establishing donations and gifts programs and a long range capital plan, which I think later there will be some reporting that will complement that. Board prepares a written performance evaluation for the library director year. The board, and that's in there, that's I didn't bench.
I know.
The board has a code of ethics policy, which we can work on. The bylaws are reviewed at least every 2 years, and I think we can dovetail that in also with the charter revision that hopefully the administration is going to propose. The board provides annual training or continuing education for all board members. The board conducts an annual self-assessment, which would be fantastic. And the library has a technology plan prepared by the director and the staff. It's approved by the board. And last but not least, library staff and volunteers are trained on safety and emergency procedures. And that actually will cover later on. All right. And then we have a second special report, and that's statistics and strategic goals. I'm gonna hand that over to Jan, who neighbors away.
So our numbers looked really good last year. We had increases in circulation, 8.8%, increase in attendance, 10% over the previous year. Our door count actually up over FY 22 was 60% increase. So post-COVID, we're back. Team programming had a tremendous increase. Children's programming maintained because they're really
No more room.
at capacity. And a slight dip in adult programming because they were down in person much of the year.
But just attendance is still flat.
What's that
Attendance still flat
at programs?
for adult programs.
Oh, yeah.
Even though
Still good attendance,
Yeah.
even though there were few programs. What else does that highlight?
I think we're, really rolling the strategic plan, and I think that's outside of the talented staff. I think that's another reason why we're really continuing to see our numbers grow.
Yeah, every department has achieved something in each of the 4.
Yeah, I think, why is it clean up so much? Why is it clean up so much?
Because we have an incredible team staff. Some of it is, we're getting the kids. How long has Tamara been? Tamara. So we have really impressive children's services, who's responsible for an incredibly organized early literacy program, organized some reading program. I think a lot of this is Jen and the teen staff and really offering really great programming. I think what the staff have done is create a really great bridge between children's, tweens, and teens. So up here, they've gotten the tweens more engaged, excited about being in the library. Those kids age out instead of aging out and leaving the library. Instead, they're still recognizing the library as a place they can go. And it's a pretty great team room. So I think they're finally kind of tucked in. Jen, the head of teen services, does an incredible job of outreach, working with the schools, and working with groups and organizations that I think feel like they belong in the library. We had a pretty gnarly, actually, the word I will use, book challenge. And I think for some of our teams, they felt really heard, and they feel like this the library is a space that they can be comfortable in. So that's really. So I think it's both great for the literacy in between program that feeds them on the team learning and having a really simultaneously having a really strong team that's given those teams the library that makes them feel able.
And I would add, I think the expansion of your study rooms. So you're now a place where you can come and do a group project, right? You're not going to somebody's house, everybody can be here, you can go somewhere in town and get snack and come back. So I think those have been really heavily used.
Those books pretty much booked up. Large.
Yeah. That's actually that was our biggest complaint. They couldn't get a room. They couldn't, yeah, so it's been, it made it all the way to this.
In both libraries?
Both libraries get booked. And Woods especially, because it's not like a ton of. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
really
like 4, 3.
three, and I mean, there's two in the basement, and kind of,
They're not great like group projects. They're just too big.
the one upstairs is pretty. And it's also a national tournament. Teams across the country really recognize libraries as a spot to go. I also think it's the fact that this downtown is bustling. And so this is those teams when they're done at Starbucks for getting ice cream. This is like on the route where you go. So
And it's a good thing because they're talking to one another and that makes, with the whole post-COVID thing, I think that's fabulous.
in different groups. So I'm a former teen librarian. So different groups of kids. So you kind of get, some libraries will have, one or two certain groups of kids will hang out in the library. That's their spot, as in the study rooms. You really kind of get, the,
Whole cross section.
when I was in high school, it was the jocks and the nerds and the.
All
dumb
members of the
kids.
breakfast club?
Yeah.
Yes, you get the whole breakfast. So it's interesting. It's fun to walk through and see kind of the different groups. Sometimes cohabitating in the same space, sometimes on different parts of the building. For teen librarian, former, for copy.
One thing I think we will want to keep an eye on with all the programs that are particularly in person, is the split between Maine and Woods. We think about future, next steps in the future. However, we're thinking about the building project that comes up.
Surveys after most of the programs. Is there a question? What's your library, like?
What's your preferred space?
Yeah.
That would be a good
And
question.
because otherwise we're not gonna be able to answer that question because we don't have any rooms.
Well,
Yeah, we'll by default have more programming here.
and we are looking at what is the next step since this strategic plan is aging out. So that'll be an opportunity to do a lot of community-wide surveys.
Yeah.
To hopefully have a little bit, because the one thing that we learned from this strategic plan is we have some of the highest circulation, we have really great numbers. But our membership penetration in the
It's
community
low based on the.
is low.
yeah. So with the library cards, can we map it? And do we know like what's around?
Yeah.
What's the number of population? What percent penetration do we have up there? What percent penetration do we have there? Is there a way to attack that ad library?
There is 100% a way, there's expensive ways to do it.
Yeah, but it's just again, to see what's there and then, is there other community outreach, right? Because up by Woods, there's a lot of older community, like living communities, there's more apartments, there's other places like that. So that might be an interesting.
I would love to
exercise.
do a marketing survey to kind of learn what is we did this at a previous shop I was at, and it was really eye-opening. Because sometimes what you think it is not
Right.
what it is at all. Share the story of this one neighborhood that was on the edge of town, and they claimed everybody in their neighborhood used the next town's library. So we actually paid for one of those expensive programs, and I got to go to meetings. Not only does most of your neighborhood use this branch that's only 2 miles away from you, but actually everyone from Gilderland that borders that neighborhood also uses the Pine Hills branch. So yeah, I would love to do stuff.
I mean, that may be great, particularly where you're trying to scope out a building project.
Yeah, I think, that's something we can probably loop in,
Yeah.
because that cover off stuff with regards to both. The update, provide revision of this. I cannot speak to revision of the strategic plan. And planning for the,
Yeah, I mean, you have nice data to go back and
Yeah.
ask for big numbers. Yeah. if you can, you know, what your penetration
map
is,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Is the process and when does it start for our next strategic?
Well, that's something I would like to tackle in October,
Yeah.
or else this agenda would be really long,
Yeah.
but a discussion of, how we want to move forward. Because I really think I really view that as the first stage in really starting the building project. Because, I think, and if we do our staff development day in January, that actually might be a good time to have someone on board to do the step side of it. So over is, I think, where we're gonna have a substantive conversation.
Great. Anything else with regards to either of the special reports? And one thing just to note with regards to the best practices, is for us to conduct a self-assessment of the board against these. And know where our gaps are, just figure out a plan to close those gaps, because I think we have, definitely some of these checked off, some of these we need to check off.
Is there a template or a rubric that has been used for this board? Sort of, I know there's not one.
I don't know if this board in 2.5 years has not done a self-evaluation.
My time on here, we've not.
The sort of thing that the library associations have to share.
There are a ton of, so, and especially divisional library development. Proposing these things, I will reach out to them and say, hey, do you have a rubric that you use? And we can always also reach out to FLAG, which is the Fairfield County, but it's supposed to be Fairfield County Directors Group. And I'm sure those boards use rubrics.
Yeah, that would be great. All right. Well, with that, we'll then move on to our policy review for the month, which is the gift acceptance policy. Scott, do you want to,
This is really just to bring it to your attention and have you all review before next month, and maybe the committee, our working committee, well, maybe you want to review it and sit down and talk about it. I know that we've been, we have an individual who wants to donate $30,000 in stock to us
The one you mentioned today.
today, yeah.
Okay.
So, and they reached out to me, so.
They did.
So,
I
and
was
we
getting
just,
that confused with the other donation. Now
Yeah.
it's 100,000. That's when you said 30,000.
we were at 300,000. Yeah.
Separate, yeah,
Yeah.
two separate ones.
So we actually, Jan was smart, and goes, just send them the policy, we have it in the policy, so I'll reach out to them. It's something that we're definitely getting asked a lot about, we're actually getting asked a lot about, having people's names on furniture, having people's names on plaques, which I.
A book plate program with
The
friends.
book plate program with friends, so something that I think, we're getting enough questions about them now. I think we need a substitute program so we can say this amount of money could do this, which I hate those conversations, and that's why I'm not in nonprofits. But I think it's something that we're at.
So does you see this policy as being a part of an overall
Strategy.
Sure, that was one of my questions. Great, put those aside. Does anything exist right now in terms of policy? How is that working?
It's kind of been all over the place. My rule of thumb is kind of like, if you can give us the amount of money for the piece of furniture, like we did a bench at Woods. If you
No.
donate the amount to cover the plaque and the bench, then that's, but I think we definitely need something more substantive, because it's coming up here.
Yeah, we haven't really, in the 12 years I've been here, we haven't had this like we have now. There have been people who have worked through the children's department with whoever was the head of the department to make a donation for certain things. But even like people seeing it in their obituary that there's a to donate money to the library. Seeing it more.
Yeah, and if you're, in those cases, if someone's actually doing it that way, I think the best bet is to have it go to the Friends, it's tax deductible, because we're a 501c3. If they donate to the library, then, you know, that's tax donation, even though you're a public, right? I believe it is.
Oh,
You know, it's not. Okay. Tax, yeah. So, um. You know, that's something to consider too, so.
The way we've kind of funneled it is, you want to give us money for programming. You want to give us money for capital,
Mhm.
capital improvements.
Mhm.
The trustees account is really the account.
Mhm.
that they work.
Yeah, that's a good division.
And the largest one pending material.
yes,
Which would fall under.
I don't, is that on the agenda?
No, because we just.
No,
Why not? Yeah.
Put it on. I think the stock one came in
Stockholm came in this week.
today.
It was Friday.
Yeah.
Friday was a good day for the library.
Well, because I
Oh,
knew,
it's
I
sent.
know that the check was coming, I had told Andrew that it was going to be coming.
Yeah.
But I thought we put it on.
I did. Same good word.
Yeah.
It's one of my kids. That's one you might have to answer.
I guess you could discuss it under fundraising.
We'll add it to, we can add it, we'll add it into, new business. We always can add, it's easy for us to add that on there. It was, I also had it in it, Margaret Simcoe request, so. It's much on the agenda, to be honest. All right then. Okay, so next step, is it something, Scott, that we wanna have, because I don't see any adjustment in the amendments to the
There's
policy,
no changes to the policy right now because this is something I think it's really important.
but we would wanna put something in place in terms of. Broader strategy on this, of which this is only a piece. But this, I think. Obviously, please review it. Questions next month, but, it does seem to have pretty. I thought these cross as it relates to, yes,
And there's no reason it couldn't be reviewed and adjusted if, as we do a capital campaign. We need to add on or have amendments to.
There's no life to a
Yeah.
policy.
we have these, this comes up. And, you know, annually, every month we do a new policy. One came up on the wheel this month, so.
Good timing.
So yeah, if we do find a need, obviously, we'll add to the agenda, we can circle back on it. We can add it, we can put it on the agenda. Discuss what needs to be changed and then go from there. All right, with that, we will get into our committee and liaison reports, starting with, excited for this one, the fundraising committee.
May and I will sort of share this report if I could. They and I and Danielle and Kathy of the Friends and Danielle, the Director of Development for Friends, and staff gathered on August 28th. And the goal there was that we all have the mutual desire to collaborate and coordinate our approach for sport. That's sort of where some of the conversation that Scott has shared with us today came up as far as bucketing, for example. That was one of the questions we asked. What actually is our role as trustees? But we came up with a few agreements for the committee members. And that is that that the Friends will continue to send a representative to the Board of Trustee meetings, which you've been playing that role for a while. Would be the president generally.
Usually it has been.
Yeah, okay, and then we hope that we get a written report in case there's an absence of the personal representation. And in exchange, the Board of Trustees, and in this case, it was May and I, was committed to attend the Friends monthly meetings, one or the other of us. And if neither of us are able to, it would be really awesome if another member of the trustees would consider tagging in for us. We also agreed to meet with the incoming president, Friends, to establish a good working relationship and collaborative approach from the start. Friends have agreed to just continue to give us a list of events and dates, because there is a universal recognition that the trustees could be having more of a presence at the Friends events. And then I think you verbalized this stuff just now, but maybe in writing too, you could do a quick chart just so our colleagues who have not had the conversation understand what capital versus the 501c3 gifts, memorial grants, etc. Have an itemization there. Did we want to? We also did talk about what the highest need of the Fairfield Public Library is now. I think we talked around it, we maybe even have talked specifically about it, but in this meeting, we absolutely understand that the Woods Library is the Fairfield Public Library area of greatest need. And so because of that, the Friends have agreed to have one of their upcoming leadership meetings at the Woods Library. The Friends have the same exposure that we all got when you'll get to when you get your tour of the libraries. And then that also led to the conversation of a gala someday out there. There have been two in the library's history, from what I remember from the committee meeting. And there was a conversation that seems to be kind of an appetite for a gala, fundraising gala in the future. And we talked about that being in conjunction with the kickoff of any fundraising campaign that we do for Woods Library. You know, a bunch of different ideas came out. We'll just continue those conversations and keep everybody posted. And of course, that would be part of the strategic plan in any case. And I do have a couple of recommendations at this point. One is to actually cancel the monthly subscription for the foundations. It's not been used once, from what I understand, since it was purchased. And it's really easy to reinstate that if it turns out we're at a point where we want to start doing foundation research. That's $222 or something like that each month.
Yes.
Are being used. So I don't know if we need to have a motion or what that look like. That's one recommendation in the meeting.
I think because it is financial, we should make a motion to discontinue that subscription.
So I move, may we, oops.
Let's add that to new business.
Thank you.
Make a motion, it's kind of committee.
Oh, really?
So when you add it to new business, you don't do a motion.
Did they get to, we don't just vote as a.
You just need a second and sorry. When you make it to new business, you just need it seconded, you don't need to have somebody make a motion. It's already going out.
Okay. As opposed to, we don't need a motion, we just need a second.
Yeah.
Okay, that gave me, I was like, we voted as a full board to do it, we should be voting as a full board.
Yeah.
You're gonna throw me really procedurally on that one.
One of the other things that came out is fundraising committee request permission, or I'm not sure what this procedurally needs to look like, but there are going to be a set of recommendations, additional recommendations that come out of our ongoing meetings. And one of them, we believe, probably is a set of expectations for the trustees with regard to our relationship with Friends. Simple, easy things, but such that one doesn't exist now. And if we're headed into a strategic planning process and headed into the potential for a capital campaign, expectations such as, appearing at public events that the Friends are showing or that are existing in town. Because that not only helps with fundraising, but it helps with PR continuing to show the board of trustees support and advocacy. So those are sorts of things that we'd like to see as an expectation. Do we have permission, or does there need to be a policy that allows us to put something together?
I would say that's something that we can definitely include as part of our self-assessment
Oh,
of our board,
okay.
because of the relationship that we have, both, you know, from a programming standpoint, but also physically with friends, that I would say that would be, you know, we have a code of ethics, so we also, you know, could be part of the code. I'll say conduct,
Like, yeah, cooperation.
Joining.
just an expectation,
Yeah.
an expectation.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Thank you. And, oh, May and I both have joined the Friends of the Fairfield Public Library
Oh,
recently. Last week. Reminders, you mentioned it, you'll probably mention it too, that the food truck festival is on Sunday, the 22nd.
everyone pray good weather.
Oh, I left.
It's been a few years. I feel like we've.
Cold, and then which was fine, rained out.
Rained out is underselling.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that-
Mine seemed
Yeah.
electrified.
And then the other is that tomorrow is the annual Friends meeting in May, and I am in that. And last time was.
Perhaps some sort of more formal arrangement in terms of event attendance, not right away, but something to think about future, you know. Which two board members are attending each event. You know, where we have presence at each event or something. And one event.
And like, let's just remember, you have a small board here. There are 18 people on the front.
I was gonna say.
And so I think we need to manage that. Like, there are big signature events that would be
Right.
lovely for people to. If you
Yes.
can make an author event, terrific. Because even with 18 people, we don't get somebody at every single event in month. So I think there needs to be some real expectation, right? 6 people can't do what 18 people can. So just as in my, how I would view it is, it'd be great to have one book, one town. Great for mini golf,
Yeah.
great
Yes.
for, someone come to a sound wave. Not if you don't want to listen to the music, just come for the cocktail party and just chit chat. Like, so, and that's what I tell the people who are on the board. You don't have to like physically attend, but pop in,
Yeah.
fashion, Butler's fashion show is like super fun.
Right.
Pop in, see what happens and, walk out, it's just having somebody come
Yeah.
around and, we had name tags, so they knew who you were, you had a role. Maybe it's a lanyard that we all have that identifies you.
Yeah,
I think those are the, yeah,
Having that conversation, like what events would be most helpful, what are the expectations? I think we all know.
because there's a
to
million
attend
things.
An event, but which event would it be most valuable for us to attend?
Art gallery openings are fun, if you've not done an art gallery opening on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that, but I think those are the sort of the big focus for a lot of what the friends.
Great, so even, just information like that is helpful so that we would be able to put together more of a.
Yeah.
Which events are most important for board members to attend.
And I think one of the things we might be able to do moving forward is, as we have the updates from the friends, potentially we can go through the event and informally here. But informally, formally, however we want to do it, say, one of us can please volunteer to attend an event for the coming month. 'Cause we're all here, we all have our calendars.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
Didn't receive. Annual calendar event,
Yeah.
That one. future meeting.
Starting order, bird's eye view of what's. If you're all really good, at telling us, see it on the minutes and the, next month and all, but it just. It sort of goes through my head.
No, we
when I
can-
look at-
I
Just sort of planning ahead more in terms of what we can.
And that's the thing, we talked about it in the beginning.
So on the Friends meetings, and you guys do it on yours, when for the meetings that I do, at the bottom of it has the date of all the Friends board meetings. It has the date of the gallery, opens, it has the date of the trustee meeting. And then there could be a line that can be added to our agenda, that maybe we can just send to you guys too, that just says, like the dates of the big programs, because we know. But we don't know the date of meeting, we know. Things like that, we know.
Yeah.
But that's easy enough to have put on the agenda.
Yeah, we could have that as part of the packet, for sure.
It feels like there's momentum. It feels like at least, we've got some conversations started. There's a few agreements, there's a forward thinking plan. And that feels really good. Are there any questions or comments about that, or anything you want us to make sure that we talk about or address? Put on a committee meeting agenda?
I think process is always good, and the big question is, what are we fundraising for, right? That's the big question, and if it's improving the Woods branch, then we sort of know what kinds of things can happen from there, and are we looking for big donors or many donors? So the townwide grassroots kind of a thing we want, maybe we want a component of that, and we have a lot of business there, right? Business, there are many wealthy people, many people looking to donate things, so just sort of figuring out who those constituents might be, and then tailoring the message to them, because each one, there's something a little bit different.
And I think that's why the trustees want to be working closely with the Friends,
Mhm.
because again, as Scott has pointed out, capital gifts would be trustee responsibility. And so I imagine that strategy will need to be developed, who plays in what lane, and how do we coordinate, and again, with a capital campaign, I think certainly those conversations are being really clear.
Great. I think one of the things we'll also change moving forward is in our agenda, we'll do fundraising meetings, then the Friends, then we'll keep you guys together. All right, that's great, and I think one of the things coming out of that, Stephanie, too, is if you guys could write that stuff up to share with the rest of the board. Very copious minutes.
Peter gave them the option to.
That I saw, and I think that was what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than the broader board, I think what we can do is probably possibly include that in next month, for discussion. Building committee, obviously with John coming on the board, we'll reconvene, ideally the next coming month, to discuss kind of next step. One thing we'll be looking at is, listing the help of, we're putting in a for an architect to examine, start to put together plans for potential options, kind of to discuss near in to far out, small, medium, and large t-shirt sizing wise. So we'll have a meeting to discuss that, and Scott will coordinate you, me, John, Aaron. With that, I'll move on.
All right, so September is busy, as Scott mentioned. Tomorrow is the Friends annual meeting. Last year, the Friends celebrated their 20th year of being an organization. So the meeting is just sort of a pretty standard meeting. Scott will speak, I'm going to speak. We do elect a new slate of the board members this year again. And then we have an author, we have an author coming tomorrow,
Leanne Dolan.
That's right. And she's,
Kids downstairs.
yeah, and she's fabulous. We have 82 people, I think, signed up now, which is huge. We used to do it in the memorial room, and we've had good attendance, but this one is actually pretty good. We also, on the 14th, have the Sound Waves concerts. That's a signature series that's made possible by a donation that we have from somebody, a big donation from me. And that's the first of 4 concerts we're doing this year. One of them will include a children's. So we used to do some concerts where children were introduced to some of the classical music. This one won't be it, but there's one coming up. We'll have a children's piece to it. Jen Butler's fashion show is September 15th, and it's really fun if you haven't gone to it. I mean, she's quite talented. She does everything from casual clothes to fancy dresses to wedding gowns and menswear as well. So it's kind of fun. It's here in the gallery and it's a great space to do it because they have that whole long space from the periodicals room through the gallery. And it's kind of fun with the artwork there. It makes a really nice backdrop. The Food Truck Festival is the 22nd. On September 25th, there's something called Sip and Support. Connect Fairfield has done it before, but they do it like twice a year, and it's at the Illicit Brewing Company. And they invite nonprofits in the area to come and set up tables, and people can come and chit chat if you're looking to volunteer, if you want more information about something. So the Friends will be participating in that. And then there's also a chocolate festival that's going to be held at Greenfield Hills, and we're just helping to publicize it. It's a great little community where they have the farmers market on Saturday. And we're trying to see if we can get some book feed potentially with it, so that we can have the kids come up, they pay, I don't know, $10, whatever it is, they get chocolate, they get chocolate. And they have a theme, and then they create something and they get judged. So that's what's happening with there. And then finally, I am no longer going to be the president of the Friends. I've been on the board for 7 years. I'm the president for the last 2. I am also the president of the Fairfield Women's Exchange, which is running a small business, retail business. It's not so small anymore, with about 40 volunteers. And so I'm going to be continuing to do that for 2 years. So I'm actually stepping off the board of the Friends for now. I may be back at some point, but I'm going to take a break. And I just want to thank you guys for letting me come and talk. I know I speak a lot. Hope I didn't annoy anybody, but I love the library. I've always loved libraries, and I've really enjoyed my opportunity to participate with the Friends and also to throw my 2 cents worth here with the trustees.
Well, it's greatly appreciated, Donna. It really has been. Obviously, you've been around since I've become the chairman, so I've appreciated having you as a counterpart on the Friends, in terms of keeping us honest with things, as we've you've seen it. We've continued to evolve this board.
Absolutely.
It is baby steps at a time.
That happens to all boards, right? It's a growing process, and I think the Friends board would tell you I pushed them quite a bit in the last couple of years. But sometimes you have to, especially with a big board, right?
Yeah.
Like we got to get things done, and you got to add some spark and energy, and hopefully I did that over the last few years. And it'll be
Absolutely.
I'm still around. I'm just not official right now.
Yeah.
So,
Or,
thank
I think as we can see with May and Stephanie now, help foster that partnership as well. So thank you for that. I do feel like we are moving in a much stronger position in terms of relationship between the 2. So thank you for your help with all that.
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll see you around.
Absolutely.
And if something goes wrong, I'm sure we'll hear from you. All right, and Scott, you want to talk websites?
So we've hired a photographer to do some internal shots for graphics. So we're getting close, and we're working on the site now. Mostly content, mostly being done by the staff, and we're pretty close to the revision. So we'll probably have a finished product, we think, at the end of October. So we're only a month off, which is kind of pretty good for a project this.
Good. And obviously, any sort of UAT is needed or review. Feel free to reach out to the board. All right, that will hand it over to Aaron for the treasurer's report.
Sure. Exciting news I have today is that the endowment is now over 10 million. Cool market. Growth in the market has been benefited from in the last few months. That's good, up 15% from the end of 2023. I did just make the transfer over to First County from the Memorial Fund of the amount that was approved during the last board meeting of the 113,000 roughly that we approved during the July 2024 board meeting. So we should see that. I mean, if we have it today, I didn't check it today, but I'll check tomorrow. It should be Scott. Those are the only updates I have today.
What does that represent?
Yes, so they're goodness, it was probably, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. Is that correct? It was approved by the board that there would be a calculation done on one of the two funds, the endowments, that would be given to the library for any capital project. So this, we were earmarked last year, we earmarked the fund for the website funds. So we had just approved during our last meeting, which was in July, when the budget was being done for this year, the amount calculated on 2% of the last 12 rolling quarters and brought that forward.
So there is a, budget
Yes, we have the breakdown that Jen has.
meeting.
Yeah.
I can get that to you.
One other thing, just. I'm trying to think the best way for us to be doing this is, obviously, since we've approved our budget. In last month's meeting, is just to maybe have this included as part of the packet. Visibility, there's that we do have. Just trying to think through, making sure that we are all on the same page as relates to. What we're supposed to be spending again, if we have shortfall. So,
Specifically for this amount?
no,
Just the
no,
budget in
if we think about the budget in general,
Got it, okay.
because we do have, this amount is in conjunction with obviously funds from the friends. Just to be tracking against that year to date, so that if, say we get to March or April, and we see that there's a major discrepancy,
Yeah.
major variance in any one of those, that we're not caught in May.
So I'm wondering if it makes sense. I think every month might be,
Quarterly is probably.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
Yeah.
at least on a quarterly basis, so we're not driving. Bit.
Yeah.
That's not obviously, that they're something is out of the ordinary.
So we just recently transferred the money from the previous year, so that's.
yeah, it's less about the funds that are in the bank. It's more about
Budget versus
the
actual.
budget, yes, exactly, budget versus actual, so budgeting to spend X amount on. Programs on, the. Strategic plan that we have. We're tracking that money out, and we don't have it down to a quarterly basis, so we're not gonna be planning quarter to date,
Mhm.
but even just starting. Year to date. We'll report that, so maybe next, because we'll be, we'll be, October will be the start of Q2 for us. So,
Meeting very early, isn't it?
is it? Calendar. Nope.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we could shoot for. Even just using that as a first pass. Of the budget review, part of the quarterly budget review. We do need to, if we find it, we need to do it. Yeah, second month of the quarter for our meetings, I'm fine with that, but I do want to start getting those
The
cadences.
P and L sheet. We should probably do the P and L sheet.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions with regards to treasury report? Good. We'll now get into the reconciliations and check registry. Scott, is there anything that we should be looking at in particular? I didn't call out on here, or Dan? Dan, I think that. All right.
Well, there was some transfers from, the money market into the checking as from that money that was transferred for last year's fiscal year, 40,000. There were quite a few bills related to the, website. That was probably the biggest, thing. And then, of course, our, museum pass renewal would get put forth from friends. Were the biggest.
Okay.
It's the beers we see in the past.
Did somebody lose it? Yeah. We're gonna replace it. Huh?
Oh, that's it.
We're replacing it at no discount because even though there's only 4 months left on it, 4 or 5 months, there's no discount, but the patient pays the full price. That'll be.
Just say, Greg Dancher, this past weekend, who was the former, was with him on Saturday.
What's he doing?
Not much. Sailing. Helping Laura.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
so here's the check, list of checks for to be written in September. There's a number of reimbursements for things that happened over the summer in the summer reading program. Pequot is having their literary luncheon with Beatrice Williams on this Friday. And as has been tradition, the board cost shares on that as part of professional development for staff who want to attend. So there's 3 of it that will be going. Mary Sampson is actually, the new person is actually doing that book in one of her book clubs. So I didn't ask her to clock there. It was something. One of this is friends.
And just a question with regards to the replacement of it. You did say it's paid by the patron. That, we should, can we see that on next month's deposit?
Yes. Limited. Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense. Any questions with regards to any of the reconciliations or the upcoming checks? Right, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second it.
You wanna read it on there? That's fine. All in favor? All right. So the reconciliation as well as the checks registry is approved. We will now move on to old business, which is the facilities use policy, which we did review last month, or sorry, 2 months ago. Did anybody have any questions, any further review? You know, that just,
I have a quick question.
oh, yeah,
Under the room setup, access and equipment. And it's just curious, are we limiting to non-alcoholic beverages being served? And I'm asking because I know I've attended events and there's wine and cheese. Are we getting?
We're keeping that to the friends in the library because that's easier to control.
You don't want to have a bourbon tasting in here one.
I didn't understand that
It-
that's being,
definitely.
we need to point that out.
I'm pretty sure it's probably the town attorney as well as wanting to keep it.
No, I'm not trying to remove it. I just
Yeah.
wonder whether we need to take a specification of that at all.
No,
Okay.
He gets.
No, I would-
I almost don't want to open it up to conversation. Yeah, 'cause it's like, we say
So
only
you're-
the friends in the library.
So when somebody comes to a friend's hosted event and has had wine and cheese and then wants to run something.
We say only the friends. 'Cause right now, one thing that we have changed in this policy is we will now allow people to charge at their event.
Yeah.
Where for years it was only the friends in the library.
Yeah.
That we're changing, we're making a little bit of money off of these rentals, even though that goes to the town, but it keeps the finance board, at least it washes itself out. But we didn't have a lot of pushback on that, but yeah, I think it's, I mean, not just the town attorney, I think for the staff,
Yeah.
we'd rather not, and my hope would be people. We may not want to rent to somebody who pushes, but really, the thing where you let the friends drink while you let us drink.
Make sure.
It would be a yellow flag to me, that maybe we're not the right venue.
I just want to make sure that the policies that we're approving are giving you guys coverage, everything you need, so that you're not putting it. Essentially,
There are some additional rules that come into place after the policies pass. You know, policies shouldn't have every single kind of. So, you know, like, we currently don't allow birthday. I don't know why. We had a long discussion in the offices. I said, I don't know why we don't do birthday. But currently in our rules, it's like we say no. There's good reason for that. So also some of the events that we host, I think, don't open themselves to that idea of being able to serve wine or drinks. But if there is pushback, we review this in a year. So I think it's good that we're. Because it may be just like not allowing charging at events, we go, but maybe we do allow people with a catering license to apply at their weddings.
Sorry. Good call, though. Any other questions? Feedback? Is there a motion to approve?
I move that the library board of trustees approves the revised facilities use policy, Andrew.
Thank you, Stephanie. All in favor? So moved. All right, moving into new business. We have for our review, the Library of Things borrower agreement. Hopefully everyone knows about the Library of Things. Exciting, this is, you know, if it's going. Got, obviously you can see a lot of red lines since you're from legal.
Yeah.
A lot of great time.
Yeah,
It works for us. This is pretty much just, we're ripping from another library. We'll probably bring changes within the year. But we just wanted to get an agreement where, because once the website's done, I think Mary's gonna go full. She's gonna go on makerspace and the library of things. So it's kind of like to get legal to look at this, get legal to be comfortable with it. You know, remember the previous administration really pushed back on this. Or members of the previous administration really pushed back on this. So to get it in front of Bill and to get Bill comfortable with this, the town attorney, we're in a good place where we can start to roll things out, but it wouldn't surprise me if in 3 or 6 months, we say we want to change this. But it's very boilerplate. It's pretty much from the Darien Public Library, who's been doing this for a while and seem to be really comfortable with it. And really conceptually, the town attorney didn't change much. It's mostly, he's pretty legal words.
Do we have a different set of late fees for library of things than we do a regular book?
We have not figured that out. Yeah, we usually will pass that in. So usually in the bar.
Right.
Who's gonna be responsible for saying it's damaged?
Staff,
Yeah,
we already do it with, actually, your kids were a great example. They brought in a bunch of stuff. So, you know, we already have in the children's room, we already have like, got to count one out the other day. It was, so we already have kind of like STEM packs and things like that. We've been doing,
Book backgrounds.
yes, we've been doing the puzzles.
Mhm.
So we've been doing some of this already, so the staff usually goes through. Really trying to move them towards weighing things. They really like
Count.
to count things and go
Count.
through things. Some libraries just weigh them. Which I think is cool.
gotta make sure you're there.
Then we get the other.
Oh.
No, like how are we building?
Oh,
Last year,
Yep.
we, because of Baker and Taylor, last fiscal year, Baker and Challenger was our book distributors. Sorry, usually decent at that. One of our major book distributors had issues last year with getting books to us. Because of that, we had a significant amount of money in Q4 that we weren't gonna get. So we made the decision to say, okay, we're gonna move some of this money, so we spend it into the library. And we'll do that again this year. We have a little bit of money here. We'll purchase some things. The good thing about the library things, it's not books, it's not like we're buying 100 books a week. You know, it'll just be like, hey, this might be of interest to people. We have a little bit of money. But we do view it as collection development, so we don't want to treat it as another. We want to use it. Budget for the town.
Great.
Excited to get this going.
Very exciting, very exciting. And that was something you can feature on our brand new website. All right, any other questions with regards to the agreement? Maybe, or
I have a sort of really small, but I just find the Karen safe use a little, I understand obviously what I'm saying, but I find it a little confusing. The order of how we worded the last two sentences. Did not attempt to return the item, but then it says they must be returned with all parts in condition. I think it would make more sense to remove that last sentence. Policy, but then the exception is. Continued use, notify the library. That makes sense?
No, it's
Not-
not.
yeah, ordering. The joy reading.
Yeah. Like I would just move that last sentence, in either the first, or second. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
It definitely, it does seem that it was taking two bullets, kind of mapping them together. As you can see below, certain patrons should not attempt to repair the. It's just a town attorney. Just two together, I would say. The mindset that should be its own bullet.
Because it sort of contradicts. I think anyone would understand what it's saying, but it's sort of.
Yeah, Scott, I would almost put back on that and having that be its own, continue to be its own bullet, just because. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I'm just trying to find the.
I think a good change in practice.
It,
If we make an edit to it, we can approve it as. If, yeah, we can approve it pending approval by the town attorney. If he rejects it, then we do a review.
I can't find the original right now. But I will, I think I know what you're talking about. And I'll make the edit.
So they almost want to say, here's the thing. You can remove this sentence up here, if you say you shouldn't try to fix it, but you could return it now as far as. So let's return it to the parts, but if it becomes unsafe, don't try to fix it, return it to us. that's it.
It's separate, okay. What I will do is I will accept all these edits
And
and
then you
make
can
the new
change it.
edits as well. And then send it over.
Yeah, I see why he put it under there. Each one of these is sort of its own topic. But
Yeah, that should be its own bullet.
it really is, if anything, it would be items are provided is. And fall under that one. All items should be returned as, with all parts, it really isn't care safe use.
No. And Karen said you seems to come to me after you borrow the item, like I'm borrowing the item and I'm taking it as it is with everything that's there. And while it's in my care, then I'm gonna make sure that it's there. It should break. I'm not gonna try to fix it, but I'm gonna bring it back to you. Yeah, it's like backwards. I agree.
Exactly. I think
Or even for replacement cost.
Or under a checkup.
I
Yeah.
think it's moving that sentence up within the same bullet.
Up in the bullet, I think helps. but then-
No, it's check out return policy. John's right.
There are separate bullets underneath it.
I kind of agree.
It's more about check out return. That's a return.
It should be
policy.
check out return, I was we check out return directly, Fairfield Public Library, and then a separate bullet point. All items must be returned in all parts and components in the same condition when borrowed.
And then while you're using it, then if something else happens. that's
Yes,
what you do.
then if something happens during the.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, hey, bring all the broken parts back.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop using
If
it.
you're not changing the language, I don't think this needs.
Okay,
So.
yeah.
So
that's
just
fine.
pass it with the suggested edits.
Yep.
But did somebody say something about having in there that it needs to be returned from the location it was borrowed?
That can be an actual like.
That's a
not-
good point. I actually, I had confusion about that. Someone at the desk told me it could be returned to the location, and then someone else was like, no, it can't. I was told.
Huh.
You can't.
Okay, we need to get this straight because Robin, we don't have Robin later. Talked about this and pretty sure on the rules.
There were sort of two different opinions of two different.
To be educated.
So the person who processes this material, and like a person to work at the desk with, and I had a long conversation, we were under the impression. The director was under the impression that you could.
Maybe that's one of
You can't, so.
Yeah.
I think we're.
Okay, well,
So May, are you saying the third, no, who was it? Somebody just mentioned the third bullet point. Returning, again, you.
No, Scott said that it would be part of borrowing rules and that it's not part of the. this.
I mean, I would even strike.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I would strike because that's.
so then you have to like give people an
But-
idea.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is this really isn't the policy. This is more the borrowing agreement. So actually, I would leave the book drop in it.
I would leave that. If anything, just to say,
We might be back
put it in the
with
book
this.
drop and it breaks, that's,
We might be back in 3 months.
which is fine. That's,
There's gonna be growing pains with it, right? Because I think it's a whole new thing. We're not used to having a thing go home and come back,
yes,
you know, so I do think it'll be revised.
Do we need to specify when it says to any other library, whether we're talking about the brand in the name or any Connecticut library or Pequot or
that's a good.
that means any other library.
My interpretation of that is that you can't do it like Connecticut card.
Yeah,
Return
that,
to another
that's
town.
like you,
But the question is. Under state regulation,
You don't have to say that, you can say people can't return things,
that's true, okay, that's true.
Yeah.
So,
can't say that they, other towns can't borrow.
what's the intent here? No,
Somebody who has a Connecticut library card can take something out from our library of things, but they have
Yeah.
to bring it back to us. They have to come here and get it, and they also have to bring it back here.
so if that's the intention, can we say that? To the main,
but is it to Maine? Something that comes from Maine, has to go back to Maine, or something that comes from Fairfield, has to come back to Fairfield.
right? That's what I'm trying to get.
What is Robin?
Yeah. So. This is right. I think if you borrow something from Fairfield, you should be able to return it to.
To either brand. To either brand of the.
I don't know, some of this stuff is not easy to transport.
Metal detector,
What if it's a weed whacker, you're gonna have,
maybe not in a weed whacker.
well, I'm just.
Yeah, we're
an
not doing,
example,
and
something
lawn.
That's not gonna fit in the bag that Steve transports. And then could be
We just
3
say
days.
the library to check out of.
Yeah, I mean, philosophically, I'm against that, but from a practical standpoint, it's not. So, to the. So directly to the library in which it originated.
I hate to belabor this, but what about puzzles and games? Do we make those go back to?
I would put,
where they-
that's not, they're not part of the library of things, are they?
They
will
actually
be.
are.
Technically, they are.
You're gonna have a different policy for a metal detector and a puzzle.
No,
We can't. We don't want to.
We can have a different, borrowing time.
Oh, yeah. You
We're
do
still
that.
working on this.
okay, so I think we'll leave it as item. Targeted library is it originated from, we'll leave it at that. And I think in 3 months, we're gonna be back. And say, hey, here's a couple things.
So why don't we put it back on in 3 months and see, since we're, once the library thing gets updated, let's see what the pinch points.
I
are.
think that-
And then if it becomes an issue, we can deal with the,
Or even just, like, also provides a good opportunity for us to add it to the agenda.
and see, I mean, I'm sure people are gonna be curious what kind of stuff gets
Yeah.
checked out,
Exactly.
right? I mean, does the metal detector go out every weekend to the beach? Like,
I know that's fun.
Well, in November and December, I don't see it going to the beach often.
hey, maybe.
That might be the best.
No competition.
If you take it out on a Friday to use it on the weekend and then you don't have to return it till the following Friday. And you return it Friday afternoon, no one can take it. If you're not returning it to the same place you took it,
Yeah,
because there's no.
there's only one. I know, but
Library.
honestly,
So
I'm not sure that the metal detector is like an urgent thing. Like, maybe it has a wait list, and if it has a wait list, right, you never know. Do they have wait lists? Do we have wait lists for things? So I guess, again. To get up and running,
These could have wait.
yeah, and see what kinds of things,
Yeah, see what,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, we'll have to.
Because then
adjust
maybe you
this.
say if we're that busy, maybe we need 2 metal detectors that can be checked out because,
We have 2 ukuleles.
yeah, we're gonna make music and find lost wedding rings. But that, I think again, that'll inform with the next step of where the library things goes to. How the collection gets to.
But since I was thinking that it could return museum passes, the reasoning is because it's in transit and it could
Right.
be up to 3 days in transit if it's the weekend.
I think you just made the answer. Where.
Or we need weekend drop.
I've always said that.
You can add that to a volunteer. You can have a volunteer position. We drop. I mean, if it comes back on a Saturday, it'll be the regular process, right? If it comes.
You can of worms.
We'll think about it.
Yeah,
We'll think about it.
Yeah, I think if we put it in place as is, or not as is, but with the edits we discussed. And take from that. It's a starting point. We're gonna,
and we
months
have
from now.
contact information on this, right? No,
Yes.
yeah, so if it is revised and we need someone to do a new contract. We can get in touch with them so that we can do it changes. Yes.
all right,
Any other library, any library other than the one.
Maybe we should take out the word annual. Anytime it's revised, they have to sign it again, because it's this law.
Last time.
Excellent.
I'm not, but it'll work.
It's a living, breathing document,
Yes.
yeah, I think if there's enough that we put in there to change the agreement. Such that it would cause problems. See any reason why we couldn't force someone to sign a renewed. Borrower's agreement. With substantively change. Like that's,
Or I mean, look at how, we've updated our.
the condition,
Can we post it somewhere and say by checking out, you are agreeing to the update?
yeah, same thing. They'd just be agreeing to. Borrow this, they would have to, at the very least, they have to do it annually, they potentially have to do it every time we change it. Well, this is they do with CDC.
Mhm.
So. Yeah. They're not agreeing to them in perpetuity. All right, with that, great discussion. I think we do. So let's try to put reminders in our calendars. If it's in December, which that's 3 months from now, what the hell? Put that reminder on there to review. Obviously, as with anything, if this gets put in place, we need to have an issue by next month. It's on next month. But that being said. Anything else, man? Jerry, you know, I've been pretty quiet.
She wants to be first in line for that metal detector.
Yeah.
Floating on that $10 million.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Big numbers.
Then do we have a motion to approve the borrower agreement with the edit?
I can move that the library board of trustees approves the revised in with
I'll say,
All in favor? Unanimous? That is it. That was good discussion on this. I think we will have, this is going to be a living and breathing. Essentially different, a bit different than some of the other policies we go once a year reviewing, or it's every 18 months, but at the very latest, let's talk December. All right. The next item of business or new business is the staff development day. Scott, you want to speak to?
So this would be so the board would be making the proposal. This is still because it's daytime and during the week. This would be something that the selectmen would need to be okay with. I don't foresee significant pushback on this, but it would be a day in which the library was closed, staff still report in, and we do all-day trainings. Last year was our first all-day staff development day, and the staff was overwhelmingly positive in response to it. This year, it will actually be a part of the proposal from earlier, which will be going over, a good chunk of the day will be going over safety and emergency procedures. So that will get us on that check. And if we're where we would like to be at for the strategic plan, we might also provide an opportunity for the facilitator to meet with staff and do some SWOT analysis for the however we're going to do. We will be coming back and asking if it's okay, you all buy food. But I think they're gonna plan.
Make sure we get the data first. All right, we have a motion.
I move the library board of trustees approves the proposal to close the library on January 10th with staff.
All in favor? All right, so moved. Finally, well, not finally, we will have one more item afterwards, but our meeting schedule for 2025. I think we don't have a motion in here, but we did discuss this in the last meeting, didn't we? No,
Yeah.
we didn't have time.
No, I just didn't have.
You and I talked about it, we didn't.
We
put
talked about it, I
it-
didn't
yes,
put
we
the
didn't put the-
proposed.
Yep, that's why I'm looking at.
Sorry.
Nope, all good. So we're looking at doing second Monday. Month. You kind of see we did have to flex some of these either in or out based on timings. April, because if we did the second, it'd be Juneteenth. October was
April is passing.
Passover, yeah, sorry, June. Been a long day, been a long.
And then October is, we can't do the second because Indigenous Peoples' Day, Columbus Day. We can't move it to the first because that's Sukkot Eve, which is it's a good time. So we decided in October we'll do it. Maybe we'll do Halloween dress.
I need the base for the.
A basket.
That would be the weirdest picture for a costume in the basement. So we basically did all the rest of the characters from the Matrix. Lowest. So we'll vote on this next meeting to approve the. Just out of, I mean, just. Obviously, we're talking next year, but any concerns with timing of these meetings at this stage? Okay. And then. Goes. Move to make an amendment to the agenda. But to move to add the. Here it is. It was the. Yes, the vote on the. I think the description about the foundation center. Do we have a second? That was brought to us from the committee. Do we have a second? All in favor? All right. So moved. We will be canceling that. Scott, do you own the log? Who owns the log? You have the login?
Yep.
Mine.
Cancel it.
Thank you so much. And the other thing is what's the name of the
Margaret Simcoe.
Margaret Simcoe request? Dan, can you remind me what we need to do for that?
So we received the check on Friday for 330,000. Dot. And I need to know what to do with the check. And also, if you could determine how that money would be spent. Now, it is restricted to materials, that would be used with visually impaired.
Yeah.
So, things that we currently buy are, audio CDs, which is kind of a dying collection.
Mhm.
Playaways, which is kind of similar. Streaming audiobook, which we currently spend, about $3,200 a month, so that's 40,000 a year. And, digital audio, which we spend about, 50,000 on. So,
Annually.
yeah. So my thought is that we supplement these budgets with, certain amount from this bequest. Like draw it
that's-
down over the period of
Yeah.
20 or something.
Yeah, because we do increase it by a third of 10 years. Invest more. Is there a certain period of time?
No.
To that?
No,
What's a number that would make a meaningful contribution to visually impaired services?
I was thinking like 20,000.
So if you did
Yeah,
20,000, that's a long life.
Yeah.
You invest
15 years, 15 plus.
Yeah.
And this would be supplementing the money that already is coming from the town, correct?
Yes.
Are there other things other than like the audiobook and whatever, like, I mean, is it, like large print books? Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
We currently spend about 5,500 on large type. Fortunately, it's difficult to meet the demand for that because many of our homebound,
Yeah.
patrons like that. But the problem is we only have a limited amount of space to keep those things.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
That's
we are actually trying to find a lease plan that will enable us to lease the large type books and then send them back. So if we could find such a plan, it would be great to have it funded by this.
interesting.
We have to move.
No,
You deposit it and then.
I mean, right now, just.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it has to be visually impaired, right? I would probably deposit into your, I mean,
I don't know, to be honest, I don't know how to very deposit. For county and then just.
probably.
Yeah, put it in first time tomorrow.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Then you have a nice trail with it too,
Yeah,
you know,
I guess you could technically mail it to. Mercer, but that just.
no.
Okay.
The question
And then
is,
what
we-
you need to set it up in a step or something.
That was gonna be my question. Have a separate.
Count.
in there, Because it is a,
Yeah, I don't. know if
it
The
doesn't,
documentation says anything, or can we make, I don't know if we can make a sub account and. Yeah.
yeah, that's, you can make a sub account. It's one of those things too, if we have that principle,
Yeah,
and we know what is being gained against that. It can also be going towards, this is a substantial amount of money. So we can have that
Yeah.
where.
Yeah, it extends the life a little bit longer.
Exactly. And it is,
yeah, I mean. All of the endowments were donation based. I think Jennings has specific, that's why we never touched the Jennings.
Mhm.
yeah,
the
Jennings
Jennings fund, so it's Memorial Fund, Jennings Fund. So the common use is the Memorial Fund. When those were donated, but it's been years and years and years. So that's where those funds originated, but whether we have to. Or, it may not be a big deal for them, just add a separate account near the investment policy and the others, you know, and.
I'm sure they're able to. They're
Yeah,
working-
He responded today in like 3 minutes. He'll respond very quickly and I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you just want the ability to track
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some.
Someone's making that large request
Yes,
to the library, you want to make sure that.
yeah, not commingled, yeah.
Yeah, and have stuff to. Prove, to show.
Mhm.
Okay. Let us know with that. We can, we'll be sure to. So we add this to our. The old business for next month.
Okay.
Review. Then we think. Yeah, everyone just, we can do a little bit of thinking around. Jan, if you could share. Sort of a breakdown of what we're spending currently on. Under.
Yeah.
This, I think that'd be a good thing for us to. Be utilized, to think about how we want to. Support that.
Yeah, increase. Annual budget by X percentage.
Yeah, in your budget, 20,000.
Last few years, we've spent roughly $90,000 in the two categories, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Audio is one of the fastest growing.
And
Yeah.
that's,
We have.
Yeah.
that's the thing that I think would be the most beneficial in the long run to both.
Yeah.
Visually impaired
Yeah,
and.
not- Yeah.
Um, here, share with the rest
For
of
the
the
class.
class.
That was just giving us some ideas, of maybe buying a couple of Kindles.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Collection.
had Kindles that
I-
could be checked out for visual impaired.
I think that's a great idea.
We tried this, no.
Well, we had Kindles for anyone.
Yeah. But I mean, if you could target it maybe, and then they have those, the kid Kindles now, there's no advertising on them, they come with case, they're consistently they're like $80 a piece. I mean, they're consistently ranked the best Kindles out there, but that could be something that, at least has a.
So we had to buy the items to go on to that because there's not a library card associated with the.
So, yeah, I'm
Kindle.
sure there's logistics to it, but I
So
mean.
what we did was we bought Amazon gift cards. Those two purchased items for the
Okay.
Kindle.
Right, well, it might be something, I mean, yeah, there's everything, there's a process, so it could be.
Yeah,
I mean, and maybe there's we do tech consult, we help people set their
We
Kindles
do.
and stuff, maybe we can do a big visually impaired program. you know, even just older people, like she would just show, do, you know.
She actually did that program in the library.
Yeah.
Because we have, another machine.
Yeah,
For the
you
visually
can put it
impaired.
in and it blows it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Books, yeah. So, I mean, there might be some outreach as well that would expand, and that would be a nice way to bring more people into the library and show them how to use something they already have maybe, or.
Yeah. It's interesting thought, just in terms of the programming, but also combining that with hardware potentially.
So don't wanna lose what Jen's, copy books, large, maybe to store them. Or getting used, I don't understand. Want to lose the old school stuff as we.
I think we could support, you know,
I think you
we
can have
don't have to
multiple.
earmark all this stuff, it's just how do we, you know, what additional things could be done with this, and I think this is something that also. You know. Track it on an annual basis, but if there are these things that there's a cost that's associated with that on an annual basis. It's not, I don't know if we need to earmark all this stuff.
There might be something in 5 years that we.
Probably not,
It's just here, this is what we're spending it on this time.
yes,
Yeah, next time it might be something different, but this time, here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Next time we might do a outreach program, and then the time after that, it may be Kindles are so cheap, we can buy them and like whatever, you know, but yeah, can change.
maybe it's one of those things, it's, you know, you check out the Kindle, also helping them get the. Something to help you. Here's how you get the book on here that you
Right.
want. It's kind of part of it. Who knows?
It's interesting because in her will, like, large type is the first thing that's mentioned, and then it goes on to like provide for other changing technologies, which thank goodness, but her will was kind of old, and by the time she passed away, she was mostly using audio. She
Yeah.
wasn't even
Yeah.
taking large type, and
Right.
so she was conscientious about changing
Yeah,
technology.
as her site got progressively worse, right, she had to use
Yeah.
different tools.
The large type leasing, that's just primarily for new release books, right?
Yeah.
So where we have. Scalable amount, you don't need it, maintain, obviously.
Yeah. Just like everybody else, the homebound wants the latest and greatest.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay. Well, I think next one key takeaway is there. Think about things that we can. Obviously, we talk about what we wanna sign it to, but ultimately, A, can we have a sub account within the. Within our current account or separate fund. That we can track principal and interest. And secondly, how do we want the. Outflows. On an annual basis. To to be made. How they're spent. And I'll talk about that, that would be more. Year to year thing. Cool, so we'll talk about the, to our own business next month as well. With that, are there any other items, of business that we need to discuss? Oh, had that last teacher, who had a question. Sitting here for 2 hours. Fantastic, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn. Oh, second.
All in favor? So we adjourn our meeting at 8:53 PM. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you in October.